any real justice, any system of accountability will have to be done by Syrians in Syria in a future democratic state. And I think now we have an opening for that to happen. What we have seen over the last few years with very valiant attempts by Syrian lawyers and human rights activists in the diaspora, by putting together cases, working with local prosecutors around Europe, is that we've seen a handful of cases holding a handful of Syrian perpetrators accountable. But what we were completely missing, the senior leadership holding them accountable, was something that was seemingly just a myth that was never really going to happen. What we see now is that it can happen. What I would like to see, first of all, is having an interim government in Syria that effectively could ratify now the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court and refer the situation since early 2011 to present to the International Criminal Court, thereby bypassing the UN Security Council, bypassing the possibility for Russia and or China to veto such a move, and giving full authority to the International Criminal Court. And then Syria is going to have to establish institutions run by Syrians for Syrians, but with international support, working in a system in the former Yugoslavia. The one thing that I can say, even if there is a process of international accountability, domestic accountability is absolutely essential.
If Syria accedes to the Rome Statute, wouldn't that give rise to issues of complementarity, for example, and that the ICC wouldn't really examine the situation based on the existence of judicial institutions that are willing or capable of addressing the crimes?
The principle of complementarity has to mean more than being a court of last resort. It also has to be a means by which the ICC can help the development of domestic institutions to be able to do the job themselves. But I think even if you have a credible domestic institution, whether it would be feasible or even wise to bring the senior leadership before the domestic courts, is that not going to create greater instability in the country, risk to security, further dividing the nation if you do that domestically? The way I see the ICC working with domestic institutions is one of a partnership. It's not one or the other. They have to work very, very closely together.
And do you think this referral could be done in the same way that the Myanmar referral has been done, like based on jurisdiction over transboundary crimes?
Based on the Myanmar principle, the crime of forced deportation and persecution amounts to a crime which is committed on the territory of two states. We had established in very much the same way that at that point over 1 million Syrians had been forced out of Syria into Jordan. But we were looking much more widely at the crimes that were committed by the Syrian regime that had led to that forced deportation. We said, if you look at the crimes that are committed, arbitrary arrest, torture, extrajudicial executions, bombings of hospitals, bombing of schools, when you look at all of those crimes, those are the crimes that led to forced deportation. What Syria has created over the last 13 years is a body of highly experienced and professional lawyers and investigators working in diaspora that should go back and form the basis of those domestic institutions, because that's going to contribute to the rebuilding of a democratic process and public trust in public institutions.